All right. Well, I love it. This is the beating heart of South Florida real estate out here today and on the floor. Business cards are being exchanged, handshakes are being shook, deals are being hashed out, and the big contracts and checks come later on, hopefully. So our next panel is going to focus on developers. These are the ultimate deal makers who are ushering in the future of Miami as a global city. And as you heard from Teddy, that means money coming in from all over the world. We saw it during COVID. We saw it with the Messi effect. We saw it last week with Jeff Bezos moving to Miami. So the world's greatest soccer star, the world's richest man, I mean, that's not bad for the last 6 months in Miami. So the guys I have on stage, they're building for the global elite. They're the guys at the top of the totem pole who are providing the gravy train for all the brokers, architects, bankers, attorneys, construction execs, everybody else out there. It looks like there's going to be some choppy waters ahead, interest rates, financing drying up. But I want to explore it with these guys, and I'm going to introduce them real quick. First, Michael Shvo. What are you going to say about Michael? I think the fact that Michael has branded himself with his black Armani t-shirt says all you need to know about his complete vision as a marketer. I mean, very thorough. He looks like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, and he's probably in better shape. He's done tons of high-flying stunts in real estate, $8 billion portfolio right now, leaning heavily into office development in Miami Beach. We'll also get an update on some of his other projects. And we have Isaac Toledano, BH Group. He's kind of the dark horse on the panel today. The Real Deal only wrote about him first time last year, even though he's been doing deals for, 20 years here. So very secretive, and I'm so psyched to have him on stage today. We love to cover under-the-radar guys that try to stay out of the limelight, so I'm really happy to have him here. And then we have Gil Dezer, another branding guru, marketed condos through the Trump name, Porsche Design Tower, where Messi bought a unit, Bentley Residences, dominating Sunny Isles, 30 acres he's working on in North Miami Beach. So, and the thing I like about Gil is he'll travel the world to find global money. We were talking about a car rally he was at in Argentina where he was tracking down moguls from Uzbekistan to get them to invest in Porsche Design Tower. And Gil, my first question, did you get that Uzbekistan buyer?
Well, we don't use investors, but they bought, yes.
They bought?
Yeah,
okay.
They bought the unit, of course.
Nice. So, I mean, now it's a time when, some of the global financing is getting a little, big banks, regional banks, slower lending. Are you traveling the world now? Like, where's the next big pool of money going to come from, do you think?
In our market, you can travel the world, you can do all kinds of off-site personal contact with the buyers, but at the end of the day, the buyers are coming to us. They're coming directly to our sales office. We have amazing brokers here in Miami that have that contact with the buyers before they even arrive. So our sales today are literally split 50% American, 50% South American and Europe. We're not seeing the South Americans like we've been for the last 10 years before COVID. But they're coming back slowly by slowly. Brazil, Mexico still picking up. But I was going through the list of buyers yesterday, and we have buyers from Kansas. So, I mean, we're getting a lot of domestic buyers that I guess are just stepping up in Miami and moving down this way. So I learned that you can go looking for people, but that's a lot of wasting time. To be honest, I use my car rallies as an excuse to go have fun, and I get to hang out with some great people who end up buying apartments.
Yeah, so. Business and pleasure.
Right.
And are you seeing a lot of buyers? A broker was telling me last night, they're seeing almost as many people from California as New York right now. Are you starting to see more of that?
We're seeing a tremendous amount of Californians, New York, from Michigan, from Chicago area. We're seeing also from Boston. I mean, Miami. We're a cut of Miami where everybody is coming down. We're getting that top echelon of what we're selling.
And just in terms of institutional money, Isaac, one big question is, where do you pull your money from? Not to pry, but to pry.
First of all, thank you for having me today. But what we see in Miami for the last 5 years is like everybody wants to be here. You see from Israeli institutions, from life insurance companies. I just had a call with an insurance company from Israel that they want to start giving first mortgages, but their smallest check is $100 million and up.
Wow.
So there is always an opportunities. You see an appetite from investor that wants to invest their money. Teddy, which is a very close friend of mine and a very smart businessman, he saw this opportunity a couple of years ago that Miami is about to explode. Everybody wants to be here. You see the Messi effect. You see the Formula One. And you see that all those lenders and smart money coming here between Ken Griffin and Bezos and many other billionaires. Everybody wants to be in South Florida. It's safe, it's the taxes, and lenders and debt funds and financial institutions, they pay attention to that. I had a dinner last week with the president of a big bank here in Florida. And he told me, Isaac, basically we're slowing down on giving money in other states, but we are increasing the business here in Florida, and they're really, really hungry for business. So all those things together, those are amazing signs.
Yeah, so if you're in Tel Aviv right now and you say Miami, it means something. And Michael, I want to ask you, you had Turkish financial partners, you have German pension fund money. Like, where else are you looking for capital? And is it the same thing that Isaac mentioned?
So first thing I need to correct you, because I always have to correct you. You introduced Isaac as the under the radar, the black horse. There is no bigger deal maker in Miami Beach than Isaac. Nobody knows this, and I want to tell you, this guy is he is a deal maker that I've never seen people do deals, and I can tell you, we know everybody here. So, but he doesn't want people to know that because that messes up his whole position there. But first thing, we don't have Turkish investors. Today we exclusively represent the German state insurance companies and the German state pension funds. So it's all public institutional money out of Germany that is our partner, both on on our office buildings in New York and Miami and San Francisco and throughout the portfolio. As far as you guys talk about the Messi effect, the Jeff Bezos effect, it's kind of nonsense, and I no disrespect to anybody here, because we're way beyond that. We're talking about Miami like it's a dead city, and every time somebody decides to move here, wow, it's a great city all of a sudden again. It's nonsense. Miami has passed the tipping point, and you and I spoke about this through COVID. Yeah. It became from a vacation city to a real city. And smart guy told me that before COVID, Miami had great weather. Now it has great weather, great people, and great restaurants. Yeah. And that's really where we are today. There is no more of this crazy volatility of 0 to 100 in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And by the way, that is the reason that you're seeing these institutional investors, as both of these gentlemen said, coming to Miami, because it is, within the US, we know it's the hottest market, and it's still an active market when the rest of the market's slowing down.
Yeah, I mean, we're 10 minutes into a panel. We're talking about Tel Aviv. We're talking about Bonn. We haven't even mentioned Latin America yet. So I mean, it does have a completely different feeling, even 5 years ago. But it does seem like there's, the long-term fundamentals are good. There could be some headwinds ahead, just in terms of financing and all that stuff. And what are you seeing with condo prices now? I mean, are we down? I'm not talking about your project specifically, but just in general, from the highs, which were obviously way above the pre-pandemic, but are we off 20 to 30%? What are you seeing?
So I think it goes back to what my answer was before. Miami went first through a boom of everything sells. If it's good, if it's shit, it sells, right? And we all know that. There's a lot of brokers here. You could sell anything because there was a lot of demand. People were just buying in order to buy something. I remember coming here through COVID, and you had billionaires walk the street on North Bay Road. Everybody wanted to buy a house just because they were panicking. Now Miami became a more normalized city, which is what we all hope. I know it sounds bad for some people because we're reading that prices are going down, but good stuff and good product and super prime real estate is doing extremely well. I mean, I can tell you at the Raleigh, we're selling units at north of 10,000 a foot, which is a record for Miami, a record for Florida. But bad product or average product that has no unique selling proposition ain't going anywhere, and that's correct. That's the way it should be. You're going to see a bunch of buildings in downtown and the Brickell area that are going to get crossed off and not get built because the idea that just build it and it will come. For 20 years, I'm saying the same thing. 2005, when I first spoke on your panel, I said the exact same thing.
Michael likes to point out how we get things wrong. I've had him on so many panels.
I didn't say you get this wrong. I'm just correct. I'm just making you more accurate.
Exactly. So, I mean, yeah, there really is a distinction between the high end of the market and the rest of it. But one thing that's kind of uniform across the board is insurance costs are rising, construction costs. Gil, how much is something like that impacting you? And what are delays looking like now for condo projects? How much is that on your radar?
Delays are not so much the issue, but insurance has gotten completely out of control. Prices are coming in like 8 times on the OSIP what we're expecting, what we've paid in the past. As an example, the last project we completed was a residence by Armani Casa, where we paid something like $8 million for insurance. Now we're getting quoted close to 40
Wow.
for the same type of insurance on the project. Interest rates are not fun. Every 1% increase in interest rate represents $17 million to my bottom line of additional cost rather. But we are also selling for prices that we never gotten before. I was here in 2008 when we were happy to sell for $800 a square foot, and then prices dropped in 2010 to $400 a square foot. But then replacement costs came in, and come now 2012, nobody was selling for less than $1,000 a foot. Mm-hmm. And so we're seeing the same thing. Pandemic kind of did a reset, and replacement cost is pushing numbers up so high that all developers are selling for more money than we've ever sold before. But the good news is we're getting it. And so especially with our product, with the Bentley Residences, we're creating something extremely unique. It's a follow-up to the Porsche Design Tower, the car elevators, swimming pools on the balconies, outdoor showers, all that kind of stuff resonates well with the buyers, and we're not getting Mr. Shvo's money down there, and that's but we're selling. We tell our clients to go down to his project and come buy 3 for the price of 1.
By the way, there's something I need to tell you. You know that you owe me your career. I just want to tell you that, just for those of you who are too young to remember.
I remember
20 years ago.
What you're about to say.
20 years ago.
I remember it differently.
20 years ago, we did the first building in the world designed by a fashion designer, and this guy has mastered it. But I want to say something really interesting about what Gil's saying, because everybody on the stage, which is very unique in the real estate world, has actually built a business around what they're best at. So Isaac is the master of multifamily. I mean, this guy, like I said, he knows how to do it. He has a formula, and he does it exactly like a Swiss clock. Gil, again, the master of branded residences. I mean, there's nobody, and I think I read an amazing article about you recently at the FT. Nobody does it like that. Again, he's formulaic. He understands the customer. We do something a little bit different. We specialize in super, premium real estate at very high prices. But everybody here does something very unique. And what Gil is saying, they understand the buyers, and throughout the year, when they're creating a product that's more focused to the buyers, hence they're managing to get higher sale prices. Is that more or less accurate?
More or less.
Okay.
Yeah. So where are you at in terms of pre-sales now?
We are approaching 40% sold.
Okay.
We're averaging $2,700 a square foot, which is a lot for Sunny Isles Beach. But at the same time, we're giving a lot. When I say our units, we charge $2,700 a foot on the interior, but you're actually getting garage, outdoor space. So you're buying 6,000 square feet for $8.5 million or 3,000 interiors. So depending on how the brokers want to do the math to the clients, we can be also positioned as inexpensive at $1,500 a foot. So but that's what we're selling, and the sales are happening. Not as fast as we like. We're used to 10 to 15 sales a month, which are not happening. But we're holding steady at 4 to 6 a month, and it's just going to take a little bit longer to sell out. That's it.
And do you see some pressure on the construction front coming down? Somebody was telling me yesterday about the fact that, there's a limited amount of GCs here. That's part of the problem. There might be more New York GCs coming down here and more competition, which would be good.
It's really the cost of labor today, and the cost of labor it's up there, but the margins that the contractors had on the labor were huge when they're all busy. So now you're seeing contractors giving you better pricing with lower margins, but yet they committed to higher labor rates to their people, so there's only so much you can move. And that pushes up prices on everything.
Yeah. You mentioned branding. You guys are both working, Gil and Michael, on Rosewood branded projects. I want you to yell out at the same time what percentage of sales dollars Rosewood is taking on the sale. Ready? 1, 2, 3. You guys must
They will
discuss
probably say that they signed a confidentiality agreement that they cannot disclose.
That kind of makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
But what I can tell you is, and I'm sure Michael can agree, Rosewood has been a spectacular brand for us.
Great brand.
The type of clientele they bring into the sales office and the design that they're doing, it's really been amazing. I'm extremely proud to work with them. We only opened our sales office 2 months ago, so you have a head start on us. But we're about 14 units out of 92 sold already, so we're very happy.
Wow. And just in terms of brands, I mean, you've been through a couple car brands now, Bentley, Porsche. What are the untapped brands out there that you guys see as like, you would love to get that next? Any that jump out? Armani, you've already done that, Michael.
Well, I did the Armani in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Michael did 15 Pine.
Yeah.
20 Pine. Michael got me in trouble with that one a long time ago.
Back in New York. Any that jump out?
Look, a lot of these brands don't really make sense to translate into residences. There's been a boom for, again, 20 years. It became a world trend that you have all kind of brands that I don't want to talk down at anybody here, but brands that are probably don't translate well. Armani by chance translates extremely well into residences because they have the correct aesthetics. But I think today the customer also is of course the brands are important, but the service aspect of these residences today are 10 times more important, right? So at least in the business that we're in, it's not just sticking a brand. We stopped doing fashion stuff 20 years ago because we've done it and we moved on. Rosewood in that sense, and Gil will tell you also, is a very interesting brand because they have this idea of sense of place. So there's no formulaic version on how to do stuff. It's how do you really customize the experience for the residences. We have only 40 apartments at the Raleigh, so it's a very different kind of level of service they're expecting.
That's a really service-focused brand, obviously. And I'm curious what you guys think of, major food groups doing this tower with Terra. They were going to do one with JDS, but I think that fell through. What do you think of the whole idea of a restaurant-branded condo? I mean, you'll get good room service, I guess, but is it like a scalable concept?
Food is important. I don't know about branding the condo after the restaurant, but we signed up Todd English to be the in-house chef at our restaurant.
Right.
It's not open to the public, so we realized that our buyers were looking for something a little level up than a restaurant cafeteria. So I guess that's where their angle is.
Yeah.
And
can you see branding a whole condo tower around that, Michael? Is that something that you would give thought to?
My mother told me if I don't have something good to say, don't say it. I'll keep silence.
I can add that people really want to be affiliated with a brand. Why people buy a Patek Philippe, a Rolex, a Bentley, a Rolls? There is something called brand recognition. Someone that comes down and invests a few millions of dollars in a condo in Miami, yes, they're willing to pay the premium. They want to say to their friends, oh, by the way, I just purchased a unit at the Bentley in Miami. It's an image. They want to get the service. They're willing to pay. They understand that they pay a little bit more for a brand, but you see that it proves itself. You take the St. Regis, the Bentley, the Ritz-Carlton World. You see all those brands are doing phenomenal, and I personally believe that this here to stay for long term. This is not a trend that will pass in the next few years.
Yeah, and Miami is really at the leading edge of it. Have you guys ever run the hard numbers on what a brand-affiliated condo would be versus not, or it's just a gut, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but...
For what we do, there's a lot, with working with Bentley specifically, there's a tremendous amount of value add that they come in with. We pay them for the brand, of course, but they're coming in with design services, also marketing services. I get to touch every single owner of a Bentley car who gets down to Florida. So it's worth it on multiple levels. And of course, the PR and everything else that we get from every step we make is worth it every day.
Yeah.
Last night, I showed Teddy a deal where he need to invest $100 million of equity in this deal. And his first question was, what brand you put on this building? So people starting to understand that brand is an important factor.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you a little bit about individual projects. Isaac, I know you and Teddy and Related were working on a project in North Miami that you just put up for sale. Was that a hedge against the market, or what was the thinking with that one?
Originally, we purchased the site. I found the opportunity. It was a great piece of property, the entrance to Bay Harbor. I stole the property. It was a unique situation where the seller was about to close on the property and couldn't get his financing. So we stepped up and we closed on the property. We originally applied to the city for rezoning, change of land use. We were trying to get 100 units and about 160 feet high. At the end, we settled with the neighbors and with the city. We got only 53 units and 110 feet high. Related said, Isaac, it's an amazing product, but this deal is a little bit too small for us. Teddy and myself really believed in the deal, and we decided to continue. We signed a deal with Coulter as a partner, and we're going to be launching sales probably in the next 60 to 90 days.
Nice. Congrats. That's awesome. Mike, I want to ask you about the Raleigh. You bought the site back in 2019. I think delivery is expected 2026. Can you tell us a little bit more about the project, pre-sales, and how things are going?
No. Okay. So,
Please.
you know, the Raleigh, we didn't buy only the Raleigh. We bought the Raleigh and the two adjacent properties. So we have 3 acres on the ocean, which are around 250 foot of linear foot, right? So we're the largest site in the ocean in Miami Beach. Raleigh is a, you know, Peter Marino, in essence, it's a Peter Marino 3-acre compound with 40 residences, 60 hotel rooms. As you mentioned before, managed by Rosewood. Oren Alexander and team are selling it for us out of our Raleigh pavilion. Very kind of selective on who we bring in there. It's a small group of people. We're probably midway through sales at, again, our pricing is $10 million and with multiple units over $100 million. So it's, as I said before, it's obviously the most exclusive project on the beach, probably the most exclusive project in the country today. And we're seeing buyers really from everywhere.
Yeah.
High profile, obviously a bunch of names that you know, some of them you mentioned earlier in your introduction.
And did I hear a price per square foot in there?
Again, it ranges, you know, from the 4s to the 12s.
All right. Well, that's.
Okay.
I mean, that'll set a record when it closes. I think 5,800 a square foot at Surf Club, Four Seasons. I think that's the high water mark at this point.
Yeah, we have multiple contracts above that number. But again, it's a unique product. I mean, it's 40 residences, designed by Peter Marino in the center of the beach. It's not something you can replicate. I can tell you, we're talking about construction costs. Forget about insurance. Insurance is out of whack, and I agree with Gil. And every time I yell at the insurance broker, and because he tells me one thing, and a month after that, the price is like 20% up.
Yeah.
And you know, I realize that I speak to 10 other people, and it's the same thing. But the cost to build the Raleigh is probably on a hard cost 2.5 times of anything we've ever built, just because the complexity of building a Peter Marino project at that level.
Yeah.
But you know, we've been also focused on we have 3 office buildings in Miami Beach, and we're solely focused on the beach. We have 3 office buildings. We control 75% of all office that's coming into Miami Beach. Two buildings with Norman Foster, the Alton and 407, and we have obviously One Soundscape, which is another Peter Marino building. And we're seeing a lot of the movement of companies, both from the East Coast and the West Coast, into New York. You asked about West Coast, so I just want to hit something. You know, we own the Transamerica Pyramid in San Francisco. Fairly known building. I have actually one of my own tenants that's leaving San Francisco that wants to come into my building in Miami because, again, that's a building that we're doing also, the Pyramid with Foster. And the idea is we're moving them to Miami, or we're opening an office for them in Miami because they want at least half of their guys moving here. And the demand is really coming from senior employees there.
So are you seeing more hedge fund, financial type firms interested in that, or tech firms? Because it seems like the tech thing is still a little bit, I don't know, hype-ish in Miami. It doesn't seem like it's
the tech thing
really
is still the word tech also evolved, right? So in San Francisco, I know this is not a San Francisco panel, but we're seeing in San Francisco now tremendous amount of interest from the AI companies.
Yeah.
Right. So we got all that happening in San Francisco. So tech that's renting office today, that's expanding, is all AI driven. Not the Googles and Facebooks in the world necessarily. To Miami, it's mostly financial institutions. So over the last 2 years, the financial institutions that moved to Miami represent $2 trillion of assets, right? Think about it, $2 trillion of asset under management moved to Miami Beach. So you can do the math, what the revenues are, and for us as office developers, how much rent they're paying. But it affects everybody here. They're buying apartments from Gil, they're renting apartments from Isaac, and they're either buying from us or renting offices.
Yeah. I mean, even if Miami gets a fraction of the AI boom, that'll be significant because, I mean, in San Francisco, it is. I mean,
Yeah,
it's going to rebound that market.
You're not seeing any AI right now, or any substantial AI here, because the hub of AI is San Francisco. But it doesn't really matter. The financial institutions are the highest rent-paying tenants. I mean, our office buildings here are getting between $100 to $200 a foot. These are, you know, even in New York standards, these are very high numbers.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because you have institutions that are used to paying these rents elsewhere, and as long as you can give them an elevated product, they're going to pay the rent.
Yeah.
The problem in Miami Beach, there's no office. It started when we moved here, when we opened our office in 2019 here. I went to look at offices, and it was all shit. I mean, there's not a single good office building here, excuse my poor English. So it was a bad office. So we said, you know, let's make a big move. We invested over $1 billion in just office buildings in Miami Beach.
And your Alton, oh, sorry, go ahead, Isaac.
I'm going to add a couple of things in regards to office buildings, and I definitely agree with what Michael said. A couple of months ago, we closed with PEB Enterprises on the headquarters of Office Depot in Boca Raton, 650,000 square feet of office, where Office Depot signed a long-term lease for about 50% of the space. We're in the process of signing about 120,000 square feet of office at these days. So you see the demand between Boca, Aventura, Miami Beach. Whoever believe that West Palm Beach, downtown West Palm Beach, will get $130, $150 triple net.
Yeah.
This is like, you couldn't give a space away 8, 9 years ago in West Palm for 20 bucks a foot. And today, everybody wants to be there. You see all these ultra high net worth individuals, billionaires, buying houses in Palm Beach Island, renting an office or moving their office from Chicago, California, New York, and they're ready to pay this money. Why? Florida is a safe place, very little crime, unemployment here is very, very low. We have an amazing lifestyle here, amazing restaurant, the weather. You have all the reasons in the world to move your office from California, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, enjoy life. Your kids will go to a good school. You can go in the middle of a week or the weekend to dinner with your wife, and everybody should be happy with all those things that we have here. Gil, that is, I believe, heavily invested in South Florida. Michael, that heavily invested in South Florida. All of us should thank God that we're very lucky of investing here, and I think that this market is here to stay. It will continue to get stronger and stronger. I personally believe that rates will go down towards the end of next year. Once this thing will happen, South Florida will explode. We just launched condo sales of a project with our partners, John Buck and PEB, in downtown Miami. Mm-hmm. We got an impressive amount of reservations already. Where the buyers came from? Qatar, Turkey, Colombia, Mexico, New York. Like, everybody wants to be in Miami. So if they want to spend $1,200 a foot or $4,000 a foot in Fisher Island, you have this opportunities.
Well, I want to address something.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to address the elephant in the room, right? This panel was about flow of international. What was it? What was the subject of?
Flow of international money.
Flow of international money. Now the question is, we're all talking about where the buyers are coming from, but you addressed before, where does the institutional money come from? And I think that we, you know, it behooves us to address the shift of capital coming to the United States that's about to come. So obviously this situation in the Middle East is going, there's going to be a new Middle East written, right? You have the good versus the evil that's happening now, mm-hmm. which also puts certain countries, you know, on the bad side of the United States. Mm-hmm. Big investment in the United States, as we all know, have been coming from the Middle Eastern countries. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, right. Kuwait. Some of these countries are going to be X'd out of the United States. A lot of the hedge fund guys are very nervous because they're seeing money stopping to flow in. The question is, how does that affect Miami? I think we're lucky because we are not seeing, unless anybody thinks I'm saying something wrong, we're not seeing huge influx of Middle Eastern money. I'm not talking about Israel, obviously. Israel is a big investor, but the dark side coming into the country. So I think I don't see huge effect, but there are definitely buyers. I know at the Shore Club, as an example, we saw a bunch of Qatari buyers. I think that you're going to see that dwindle away really quickly Because with the new Middle East, we're going to see how the money shifts here. I don't think it's going to have a big effect on Miami. What do you think? I mean, you're tied into the, obviously,
I can tell you
to the
that
light.
you're getting a focus of everybody between European family offices. We're speaking to them. We just got an investment from a family office in Tel Aviv. Nobody can avoid or ignore what's going on here in Florida. It's became the hottest market in the world, and regardless if you are a small investor, a medium, a family office, a financial institution, if 5 or 6 years ago Florida was not on your radar, this is completely changing.
Yeah.
I'm traveling in the world. I was with Teddy in Mykonos and in Dubai, and everybody's talking about the South Florida real estate market, and I really think that this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Florida, by the way, believe it or not, is still cheap. When those guys selling their homes in California, in New York or Chicago, and they're coming and they're buying a condo here for 2,000 a foot or 3,000 a foot, this is still cheap compared to other markets.
Yeah. So, I mean, international money coming in, check. Interest rates, if they go down next year, that'll be great. I want to also bring up, before we run out of time, something that affects a lot of the brokers out here, and curious if you guys have an opinion about it. The brokerage CEOs won't really talk because they're all being sued. But are you guys following this bombshell lawsuit, National Association of Realtors, kind of decoupling the buyer's commission from the seller's commission? Is that going to impact you guys on the ground? And what do you think just of the overall
I personally
ruling?
think for pre-construction is going to be better for us, for the developers, because we're going to be allowed to pay big commissions where now the commission structure might have changed. At the same time, as we always know, all these commissions have always been baked into the price. So this lawyer found a good little angle to get in, but who knows how real it is. I mean, the commission structure can't change that much. Buyers agents are absolutely needed, and they're needed by the buyers themselves to protect the buyers in most of these transactions. So I don't know if this this new ruling is going to hold, but if it does, I think it's a benefit to developers like us we're paying 5% commission out to outside brokers to bring us clients. So that's definitely a benefit to the brokerage community and to the developers.
Regardless if this ruling will survive
Bring
or
them,
not,
bring them clients.
we all have to admit, all of us, all the developers, brokers are one of the most important component in our business. Without the brokers, we have no business.
Yeah.
So obviously we have to work with them, we have to protect them,
Okay.
and we will. We got guys between Douglas Elliman, One World, Fortune, all the important guys, Oren Alexander, everybody that's important here in Miami, they are important partners of us. Without them, I don't think that Florida would see this success.
Michael, what do you think?
Look, I think that in the short term, there's a bit of a confusion of what's going to happen. But the reality is, of course, I agree with everybody. Remember, I used to be a broker for many years. The brokers are, as everybody said, they're an integral part of the process, right? And the buyer broker is as important as the broker representing the seller. Now, there'll be a bit of confusion how to do deals moving forward in the short term, but again, I'm not sure that this is even going to survive, but if it does survive, I don't think it's going to have a massive effect on the market. As Gil said, everything is baked in the price, so it really doesn't matter. There's a psychological issue that we're going to have, or you guys are going to have as brokers. How do you go to a client and say, sign this, that you got to pay me 3%, 4%, 5%, which they never did. Even though they knew that the seller is paying that, there's a mental shift now. And that mental shift is going to be a little bit hard to overcome at the beginning. It'll benefit the brokers that have exclusives. So if you have an exclusive, I believe you're going to see a lot more, I'm not talking about new development, but on resales, you're going to see a lot more direct deals happening right now because there's going to be a little bit of hesitation from buyers to sign commission agreements. That's why it was always great that the seller was paying. But again, if the whole industry is changing, it's going to be the new norm, right? And so I think everything adjusts. We've seen, again, I've been in the business for 25 years. We've seen different times, different structures happen, from companies trying to do no commission, little commission, 1%, 2%. At the end of the day, I'm maybe just because of my DNA, I believe that brokers have to be compensated. They have to be compensated well. And you have a lot of people that try to cut off the brokers. It's really dumb and stupid, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that communicate what we do. So whatever we do, he builds his great Porsche building. He builds, his great buildings. If it's multifamily or condos, or we build our Raleigh. At the end of the day, our job is only as good as the people that represent us on the go out. And yes, Oren's doing a great job representing us, but half of the sales that we have so far are coming from the broker community.
And it seems like every couple of years there are, existential threats to the commission models, whether it's discount brokers or whatever it might be.
Look at these people. Do you think somebody can stop them?
No.
Come on.
No, they're doing deals. And Gil, you just brought in Douglas Elliman, speaking of Michael's old firm, at Bentley. What was the rationale there? Because you've done in-house for many years.
We have since I started, we've done in-house, and we've had a tremendous success with the South American market over the last 25 years. And as we saw the buyer group shifting, we shifted along with it. Douglas Elliman, as we all know, has a great reach in New York, and that was the main reason for signing up with them, to try and attack some of those clients and get our fair share of the market of New Yorkers coming down.
Yeah. So now you can go do these car rallies and not have to worry about.
Exactly.
You can just have fun.
I have Sebastian Tettamonte, my sales director, who's been with me for 20 years. We've sold billions of dollars together, so we have a good formula already down. It allows me to do my car rallies and have my fun.
Yeah. My very last question, I want to ask Isaac. You've been kind of behind the scenes, not out there very publicly in the past 20 years. What was your motivation for coming on stage today? I mean, I think you should get the credit for what you've done, but what was your rationale?
I have 8 kids, and my wife, she's very jealous, so she wants me to stay silent. No, I'm joking. I believe...
He's not joking about the 8 kids, by the way.
According to the Jewish Bible, something that you do that is not flashy, it's going to be blessed, you will be lucky, and I think that for the last 20 years, it worked perfect for me, and God willing, it will continue to work for the next 50 years. My kids always asking me, you don't have time, you work like crazy, 16, 17 hours a day, and when are you going to retire? And what I tell them all the time is, I want to die at 90 years old at the office, from the office straight to the cemetery.
Right. Well, you should take a vacation with Gil and do some auto racing. Take some time off. All right, well, that's it for us right now for this panel. Stay tuned. Residential panels next.
Thank you, everybody, for having us.
Thank you, guys.